Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about the gimbal, why I needed it and which one eventually I settled on. As I'm just starting out, I highly appreciate your kind gesture to subscribe and like my channel. Thank you in advance. I present you with this quick unboxing video while I give some more background context and my journey to my final selection. Okay, here we go. It all started when I decided to get a little bit more serious about my videography. The footage from GoPro 10 Black, my primary video camera, just does not cut it anymore. Especially in low light and getting that cinematic look for day-to-day non-action footages. I have also tried out well-regarded DJI Pocket 2. It is generally acceptable and the tiny size is excellent in being non-intrusive and low profile. Yet still I felt something was missing. Long story short, I ended up with the untested but impressive looking SONY FX30. I put up a pre-order and received delivery around early November. It requires additional accessories to deliver on its potential. One primary requirement is partnering with a suitable gimbal, which is the key topic of this video. Where do I start? Like most people these days, I went to the internet and YouTube for my source of information. What I came back was the new Zhiyun M2 S. This is an upgrade of sort from the older M2. Here are some marketing footage from the official website.
Yo, check this out.
The few main criteria that I narrowed down are 1. Size. I wanted to get the tiniest gimbal that I can find but yet strong enough to support the relatively large FX30. The FX30 is noticeably larger and heavier when compared to your typical mirrorless. This gives advantages such as not standing out in public places, lighter and more portable and less tiring on long usage. This is key as I need to travel light yet retain a setup that can deliver on my required quality and performance. 2. Compatibility. Being small, the capability to support something bigger and heavier than a small point and shoot is critical. I depended largely on the pictures, videos and reviews where many attested to this capability. The ability to remote control the camera is also a major requirement. It seems possible with the included USB-C cable. 3. Reputation. I wanted something from an established manufacturer with good feedback and reviews. The M2 S has came highly recommended. So you can say I bought it on blind faith ahead of my FX30 arrival. Once I received both camera and gimbal, the following are the good points. It is surprisingly very light. Much less than expected, this thing is tiny. Especially so if compared side by side to entire DJI gimbal range. It can balance the FX30 with the E PZ 10-20mm G lens. The battery life is decent. It is greater than 10 hours. This more than enough for my non-pro use. So what became a problem? Despite the conclusion from my research, it cannot confidently support the FX30. This is a fundamental problem, particularly so when in the vortex mode. 1. Clarification. To be fair, I can balance the camera and lens. In slow controlled movements, I would say the gimbal can manage okay but not great. However, throw in more challenging range of motion and faster movement. The motor could not keep up and will die midway needing reset. Next, I do find the grip to be too small and I am literally holding it at the tip. This is okay with the gimbal in vertical orientation but the moment I have it pointing horizontally, I will need two hands to manage comfortably. It feels top heavy and not very balanced. The menu button on the side does get in the way in my handling. Quite surprised I do not hear more of this in other YouTube review videos. Several times the menu popped up because I was gripping the handle too tight. The speed of the gimbal rotation is a tad too fast for those cinematic B-rolls. Maybe it's just my amateur skill level. Controlling using the joystick needs practice and precision is hit and miss in my experience. I guess this should get better with more mileage and usage. I tinkered with the settings and options and after adjusting the calibration, I had trouble getting the unit to level. I was forced to perform the 6 steps, position realignment to restore the leveling. I find it quite difficult, and results as a mixed bag. I had to redo it several times before it actually regains the right level back. To be transparent, I spent no more than 3 weeks at most. Some may argue I would need more time to learn the tricks. But my dissatisfaction was enough to decide that it is not suitable for my setup. Consequently, I went back to the internet to shortlist potential alternatives. Zhiyun and DJI seems to dominate the market with many pros using the DJI. Unfortunately, the size of even the smallest model from DJI, the RSC2, is still huge in my books. Size is a non-negotiable criterion for me. Thus, the only viable model that comes close to the M2 S is the M3, also from Zhiyun. As the cost of this adventure is coming out of my own pocket, prudence is paramount and called for more due diligence. I went down to the local camera shop and played around with the actual product. There are small sacrifices in terms of battery life and being slightly heavier by 200 grams. With that conclusion, I sold the M2 S and bought the M3. Honestly, I was a little skeptical since the M3 and M2 S look almost identical. Moreover, the M2 S is a newer release and both products are from the same manufacturer. First impressions. I have only used the M3 for a couple of weeks, even took it for a trip to KL. However, I am glad I made the switch. The M3 is a much better gimbal and meets all my main criteria. In most cases, price is an indicator of product quality. The M3 goes for 40% more where I am. I'll go straight into the pros and a few cons. The biggest difference is the power. The visibly larger motor confidently supports the camera and lens. To my surprise, I can feel strong resistance from the motor as it kept the camera level when I operated the zoom rocker on either camera or lens. It also easily follow my motion and movements with more accuracy. This alone justify the switch. Next, it still feel light in the hand. Surprisingly, it does not feel any heavier compared to the M2 S, even though on paper, it is almost 30% heavier. I attribute this to 1. Better weight balance and 2. A more robust ergonomic design of the handle. This resulted in a snug and comfortable grip. On the other hand, the slender and straight cylinder shape of the M2 S handle resulted in needing a tighter grip. This pays dividends on outings with long shoots. The camera remote control works as expected via the USB wire but functionally limited to only stop recording. This adds additional steps to the setup routine, and I do not like loose cable dangling. There is a auto calibration function that quickly readjusts the leveling and motor tuning. This is a nice inclusion of a pro feature. The tripod leg attachment is robust and serves as extension to the handle for two hands operation in its collapse form. The cons. Remote control function should at least include a zoom rocker. Gimbals are only used for videography and power zooming as a basic feature. There you have it. The M3 is an almost perfect fit for my setup. I have since upgraded to a EPZ 16-35mm GF4 lens, which is much larger and slightly heavier. In my conclusion, the M2 S is more suited for mobile phone and small point and shoot. Get the M3 if you have heftier mirrorless setup still with lightweight lens. I would not recommend this for DSLR. Hope this helps.